The only thing that we're interested in is putting money in your wallet. If you want to bet the fights, if you want to have a little bit of action, you are in the right place. With my partner, Ian Parker, I am Brett Okamoto.
We're ready to rock between our parlays, our props, our straight picks. It's time to make money. Let's go.
Perth, Australia will be home to UFC 305 on Saturday, headlined by a middleweight title fight between the champion Dricus Du Plessis. He will look to defend his championship for the first time against the former champ in Israel Adesanya. Hello, everybody. We are here to talk about it from a gambling perspective, as always, on UFC Best Bets. Brett Okamoto alongside Ian Parker, and we will be talking about UFC 305 in depth, every single fight on the card. But before we do, of course, Ian, let's take a look back at UFC Fight Night last weekend. How did we do at the window?
Well, last week we mentioned this wasn't the most exciting card. Unfortunately, neither were the results. We went 2-3. However, one of our wins was plus money, with Damon Jackson either win by sub or Chepe to win by decision. We just missed on the parlay. Gregorio, I don't know how you knock the guy down and put yourself into submission, but here we are, bounce back week. Let's go.
Yeah, we've got a good card here to bounce back with. Of course, I mentioned the 185-pound title fight between Du Plessis and Adesanya. That will be headlining UFC 305, which, of course, you can find on ESPN Plus pay-per-view. In the co-main event, Steve Erceg making a pretty quick turnaround off of his very close title fight against Alejandro Pantoja. He takes on Kai Kara-France. Mateusz Gamrot and Dan Hooker. That should be a very, very interesting fight at 155 pounds. Fan favorite Tai Tuivasa versus Rosenstrike. A lot to like here, again, on this main card at UFC 305. And we will start with that main event. Du Plessis, Israel Adesanya. Very, very, very fascinating matchup. Very, very important fight for both. I would say more so for Izzy, coming off of that sort of lackluster performance against Sean Strickland. Took a little bit of time off. Comes back now, and if you ever wanted Izzy at close odds, you're finally getting him here against DDP. What do you think of this line, Ian?
Oh, I didn't want to stop you. You were painting that picture perfectly well. Izzy went from minus 175 to minus 115 because people believe Dricus Du Plessis has the style that could confuse Izzy, other than Alex Pereira sending him to another dimension. We saw Sean Strickland with the volume, with the pressure. Du Plessis does that well, has an underrated ground game that he rarely uses. But Brett, what have we seen when it comes to Izzy in rival fights? After he loses, he wins. He's fighting at home, and if he doesn't win this fight, I don't think he ever touches gold once again. If he could keep it fight at a distance and keep this on the feet, I think Izzy's going to have a lot of fun with this fight. Give me Adesanya on the money line. Let's go.
All right, so Adesanya on the money line in the main event. Any sort of idea as to how, any kind of leaning on a method or an over-under on this one?
Yeah, look, I think Du Plessis, although he's been rocked in other fights, somehow is able to make it through. I wouldn't mind an Izzy by decision. I think you're getting close to plus 230 there. Even plus odds to do it by TKO, KO, or decision. We know Izzy's not getting a sub, although now, of course, because I said that, it's going to happen. But you have those options there at plus odds. Because the money line's so close, you really can go with the method of victory as well.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to this fight, man. As you say, it seems like DDP has this style, but I think we're all kind of also forgetting Israel Adesanya is arguably the greatest middleweight of all time. I don't know if there is a specific style that is just going to give this guy problems. It's more about where he's at in his career, and if we see the old Izzy back here in this matchup in Perth. It should be a very, very fun 5-round fight at middleweight. Let's go to the co-main event, Kai Kara-France, Steve Erceg. It's obviously a very, very big night for city kickboxing. You got Adesanya, you got Kai Kara-France, you got Dan Hooker after that. What do you think about the flyweight co-main event?
Brett, I think I've done this now the last 4 or 5 times we've done the show. The I love pick. I love Steve Erceg in this fight. He should be minus 250 in my opinion. Kai Kara-France, nothing to take away from him. That fight against Amir Albazi, he probably won that fight, got robbed on the scorecards. But he's a kickboxer. He's been out 14 months, and Erceg was one bad takedown attempt away from defeating Pantoja after being in the UFC for less than 2 years. On the feet, he matches Kai Kara-France. I think he has more power. He also has a very slick grappling game. Give me Astro Boy to get the win.
All right, from there we go to the lightweight division, Gamrot versus Dan Hooker. Who do you like here?
I like Gamrot, and I like him by decision. We know Hooker is a walking zombie. It's very hard to put him away. He's been sub before. And I think Gamrot doesn't get enough credit for how good he really is. His hands have gotten better, nonstop chain wrestling. If Hooker can't turn this into a brawl, he's going to be fighting off his back for 15 minutes. Gamrot by decision.
All right, and then we go to the big boys, Tuivasa versus Rosenstrike. It looks like you like Rosenstrike here.
I do. I mean, look, Tuivasa is fun. We love him, the walkout, the personality. But let's be real. He's going against a very technical, strong kickboxer. And Tuivasa gasses. If he doesn't knock out Rosenstrike, I think Rosenstrike gets the better of him round 2, maybe round 3. So let's go Rosenstrike here.
All right, and then rounding out the UFC 305 main card, it is Li Jingliang taking on Carlos Paredes. Who do you like in this one?
I like Paredes, and I like him to win by TKO or KO. This guy is a phenom on the feet. I don't know what the leech did to the UFC to deserve these last few matchups, but I like Carlos Paredes here. I think he's going to fly under the radar in this division.
All right, so that wraps up the UFC 305 main card. Now we got the prelims to talk about. You can find those 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific. The early prelims are at 6:30 Eastern, 3:30 Pacific. Ian, go take us through all of your picks for the UFC 305 prelims.
Well, Brett, I'm going to let everyone look for themselves here and go through the whole menu, but there's one I want to highlight and take a little bit more time on. It's Jack Jenkins against Herbert Burns. I'm surprised Burns is still in the UFC, and I don't mean that disrespectfully. Between injuries, losses, he's fighting someone, Jenkins, who could literally knock you out via leg kick. He's done it before. If Herbert Burns doesn't get you by sub in round 1, he quits, loses round 2 or 3. So our long shot prop, although the odds are not going to scream long shot, Jack Jenkins, TKO, KO, round 2.
All right, loving that. And just stay on that theme of props. This is another thing that we've added into the show, and this has been a great addition to the show because you've been nailing these props on a weekly basis. Where are we going with Parker's props this week?
Yeah, add a couple of featured props here. Urseg by decision at plus 120. Kai France, hard guy to put away. Although Astro Boy has done that before, he needs this win to rebuild that confidence off of that championship loss. So take that decision. Rosenstrike, TKO or KO. I don't think this fight goes all 3 because I don't think Tuivasa has the gas tank to go balls to the wall the whole time. So let's go him by TKO and KO as well.
All right, so there are your Ian Parker's props, and because it's a big card, you know we're going to give you one of those boosted parlays on the ESPN BET app, and this time we're going to boost the long shot instead of just the normal Parker's parlay. So talk us through your boosted long shot for UFC 305.
Yeah, we would go from plus 650 to plus 800. We're going to go Carlos Paredes by KO or TKO at minus 125. Urseg by decision, and let's go Izzy to win it all at plus 800. If you hit that boosted parlay in the ESPN Bet app, let's take that and go right to the pay window.
And if you're joining us for the first time, that boosted parlay, what it means is you can get it on the ESPN Bet app. You can actually get a parlay at greater odds than you would normally get it. So download that ESPN Bet app. Must be 21 or older to gamble, of course. And from there, we will go to the Parker's parlay for UFC 305. Who do we got on it this week?
Let's get back on track. A little chalky, but we're getting plus 163 here. Jack Jenkins, Carlos Paredes, Rosenstrike, and Gamrot, all 4. No method of victory, just to win. Let's go.
And I'm very curious to see where you're going with your best bets for UFC 305. Without further ado, where are we looking to do our bread and butter here in UFC 305?
I'm going ride or die in Israel Adesanya here. I know Du Plessis does have the ground game to take him down, to hold him down, but he just doesn't really do it unless he's in trouble. He was rocked by Darren Till. He was rocked by Derek Brunson. He had to come back. I don't know if he could come back once he's rocked by Israel Adesanya. And if you were to tell me, hey, Ian, at both of their best, who's the better fighter? Is Israel Adesanya. Keep it on the feet. Keep your distance. Don't underestimate your opponent. Adesanya. Give me Steve Ursig on the money line. Junior Tapa and Walter Walker, Johnny Walker's little bigger brother, over 1.5 rounds. Luana Santos, she's been so impressive, and I'm a big fan of Casey O'Neill, Brett, but since her injury, 0-2, she has not looked the same, and Luana is very well-rounded. And last but not least, Song Kanan against Ricky Glenn. Another fighter I'm surprised still in the UFC in Glenn. I think this number at minus 190 is a steal. Those are going to be the best bets for the week.
There you go. Great stuff, as always, from Ian Parker, taking you through the entire card with his best bets, his boosted long shot parlay. You got props, you got over-unders, you got totals, you got a little bit of everything to bet at UFC 305. And what a main event it is, man. I mean, I know that we have these fights each and every weekend, so sometimes it's hard to just really stop and embrace one. I think this is one we got to embrace. This is one of, if not the best middleweight fighters we've ever seen in the history of the UFC, in a very, very important fight after looking not so great in his last performance. So big night for Israel Adesanya, big night for African MMA, of course, is the storyline going in, and a big night hopefully for us at the window. Thank you so much for watching UFC Best Bets. For Ian Parker and myself, Brett Okamoto, we will see you next time and enjoy the fights.